today, I've got my very close friend and absolute expert, Oksana from Impero. And what she does with Impero is actually help people create campaigns, which gives you a strong ROI. Return on investment is something that doesn't get spoken about as often as it should. Because if you're spending time and money on any type of marketing, which is to generate revenues, not awareness, but revenues, that conversation needs to take place. I'm going to ask you a question before we get Oksana on. How much money do you spend on your team members' time when they're supposed to be prospecting, generating, let's say, opportunities, create revenue? And are you measuring that time with the ROI that you're getting? Because if you're not measuring that ROI, we just keep doing busy work and not getting a return. So today is a really great time to have a conversation with the expert of ROI and creating outside the box campaign, Oksana. So welcome.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, guys.
So what are we going to talk about today? I know that the tile that you created for us, is all about making sure that we have a return on investment when it comes to spending money on either hard goods, soft goods. So where's that going to go today?
I would like to share some methodology that I've been using to actually measure the ROI, because what I discover while working with large businesses and small businesses, large businesses a lot of time have a lot of budgets. So a lot of time question of ROI not really sort of top of mind questions. They just think we're doing a campaign, and a lot of time conversation goes, we're doing marketing. And when I ask them, how do you measure that? They will say that they don't really measure, and they put it to brand awareness basket, right? But when you talk to the small business, because budgets are limited, the brand awareness conversation is very tricky one, because if you don't have finance create brand awareness, you need to focus everything you do in your marketing to create brand engagement, because then brand engagement create the bottom line. Brand engagement creates sales, so that sales or referrals or prospect, anything that you can measure. So otherwise the marketing, this is why a lot of people actually lose hope in marketing, because they say we do all this marketing with all this marketing, but if you don't really get any leads, and Steve, you've been sales expert with so many years experience, you know that, and you teach people that every conversation you have and every touch point you have, you need to have skills to convert. Because if we don't get conversion, let's just not kidding ourselves about our business and all activities, like you said, that we do, because it's just busy doing busy. So how do we strategically say, okay, if I have $15,000, $20,000, or $50,000 a year that I'm prepared to invest in my marketing, and it might be you say, okay, I'll spend 10,000 on digital, I spend 10,000 on existing clients, I spend 10,000 on prospecting, I spend 10,000 on surprise and delight. Then you create a plan for every single of them, strategic. You will say, okay, what's the ROI I'm looking to get when I'm investing this amount? So, because then you can aim and you create. So if this is what I'm aiming, who do I need to talk to? What conversation I need to have? How do I qualify them? And how do I convert them? And again, like I always give, one of my favorite saying, it's never lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. So because we have limited budget, we need to be super creative and resourceful on how we can create the touch points, how we can create the hooks that lead us to conversation. And this is why I'm saying, like, for last probably 4 years, I've been using this nail filer that I order in the bulk of 1,000 units. And it's kind of my second business card. And it cost me, less than $2. But I can measure the reason I'm doing it, that I know that I have people calling me, and every call I have, or every uh, prospect opportunity I have, I always ask them, how did you hear about it? And they said, oh,
So
you
this,
gave me the nail filer 6 months ago. So $2 investment generated me opportunity to quote for $10,000.
so just, do you think it's important here to make sure that, I think you mentioned 4 different categories. We had surprise and delight, we had prospecting and so forth. So when you actually spend $10,000 on each campaign, whether it's internal or external or just a surprise and delight, what we do need to do is to actually have a source codes. I find a lot of people don't ask that question, which you asked earlier. They say, oh, well, they don't ask, how did you find out about us? I think that's something that gets missed. But then they say, oh, how did you find out about us? And they say, oh, I looked you up on Google. But it might be a good idea, and we recommend that people do a thing called double dipping. So I said, how did you find out about us? Or Google. Oh, have you received any of our things in the post or seen the things on TV? Oh, I got a nail file from you about 6 months ago. So sometimes people just, it's not front of mind of how they found out about it. But I think given that you're going to measure ROI, it would be a thing to do a double dip and say, oh, did you ever receive any of our gifts in the post? Or did you ever, do you see our TV ad? Do you see the poster on the buses or whatever, where you've spent money? So I think what you just said is just a throwaway, but I think it's a big thing that people miss out on, and they don't ask the hard questions to make sure they can measure their ROI.
Fantastic point. Because Steve, then what you can do, you can always reassess your spend, right? You say, okay, we spend this amount. And also, that I always talk about promotional products. We got 20,000 products. It's never to do with the product ever, right? It's about knowing your market and creating. I always talk about any product is a tool, right? So is this the right tool? Like if you want to hang the picture, you need a drill and a screwdriver. But if you're doing a different kind of activity, if you're rendering the wall, the screwdriver not going to help you, right? So it's all, and people so focusing, is this the right tool? Is this the right drill? Is the good quality? Is the size of the drill is okay? But it's a wrong question, because if you're looking to render the wall, regardless how good is your drill, it's not going to help you. So when you're creating the tools, and I have several tools, when I give these nail filers out and I spend, let's say, 2,000 a year ordering 1,000 of them, I know that it cost me less than a cup of coffee. I know I qualify when I have a chat with a person, and I thought, you know what? They don't know that I have nail filers in my bag, right? But if I have a conversation, and I thought, you know what? I think this person is worth my investment of $2. I'm not going on the street. And this is back to the question, knowing your market. I'm not coming to the childcare and start giving nail filers there and then sitting saying, it did not work. I did not get any leads. I created the nail filer because I know 87% of my clients are female, right? And I actually also learned something in the process. I used to be very, how you call it, sexist, when I only used to give it to the female, until one gentleman said to me, can I have a nail file as well? Why are you not giving it to me? Right? So, and I thought, oh, sorry. He said, I got nails. I want a nail filer. So then I learned also ask the question. If I meet a gentleman, I said, look, I got I want to give you something, and I always talk about permission giving. Seth Godin talks about permission marketing. I'm talking about permission giving. Before you give anything, you'll say to them, would you like to have a nail filer? Would you like to have an axonitizer? Would you use it? Because if I give them...
Okay, I think one thing you just said there, and I think the guys got to listen to that. If you're going to spend money on something, and I think it was something that I learned many years ago from Brent Hallow, my business partner in the UK. He gives you something and said, would you like the runner, Steve? I go, yeah, that'd be great. Then he asked the next question, would you use it? Now, I think that's a big deal. They say, oh, look, here's a pen. Oh, terrific. Would you like a pen? They go, yeah, sure. Would you use it? Because if they're going to use it, it'll be front of mind. And that's how you can actually have the opportunity. I think would you like it? Sure. Would you use it? I think that's a big rock activity.
Yeah. And I asked this question. Look, I said, I'm like Mary Poppins. I got bag of tricks all the time, everywhere I go. But when we're talking about permission giving, I will say to them, look, let me just show you a couple of things we created for ourselves, and they've been very successful. And you're welcome to keep any of this product that would be of value to you. When I say of value to you, it's exactly the same question that you just said to Steve, meaning, would you use it? Because we cannot determine what would be of use to Steve, what would be of use to Amanda. Because if people have different lifestyles, different activities, if we don't have enough information and knowledge about them, we don't want to create giving that create negative emotions. An example of, Steve, people giving you a bottle of wines year after year after year, to the point where first time they give it to you, you kind of say, oh, it's a nice gesture. They don't know me, right? But then if you have a relationship, you build a relationship with them, and then they give it to you again, your emotion is disappointment, because you think, oh, I thought we actually get to know each other, and now you know that I don't drink, right? So if the same person do it third time, it's actually become annoying emotion. You think, wow, you really don't hear me. And then people just completely stop participating in relationship. And suddenly you spending $50 and finding the best wine, the intention is good, right? Giving a gift to Steve. But because you did not use any knowledge, any research, you were not curious to find out, you're actually better off to give Steve nothing and not spending $50. And imagine how many Steves you have on your list. If you have 100 people that you give in wine at $50, this is your $5,000 spend. But imagine if 20% of these people do not drink, you just wasted $1,000, and not only wasted, you create disconnect, you create the negative emotion that people will carry. And this is certainly not the right marketing, right? And it's nothing to do with price, nothing to do with money. And some people go to extent of spending $100 bottle of wine. So same with everything.
So what do you suggest we do? I mean, you mentioned 4 different types of campaigns, for instance, spending $10,000.
Yeah.
From your experience, what do you do? Let's say, for instance, you're going to do a surprise and delight, or that's for retention, and then you've got acquisition. And we're going to spend $10,000 a quarter or a year or whatever it may be. And we're going to then create, well, I want to spend $10,000. Usually it's anywhere between 5 to 10x. We want to spend 10 grand. We want to make a 10 times that amount. What's the formula, or what sort of structure do you have for, let's say, an acquisition or a retention. For instance, I know you do a surprise and delight, and you randomly send things out to people just to surprise and delight them, to make sure that they're front of mind, and then they ring you up to say thank you. But in the acquisition component, it's the note that goes with the thing that you've found out about them. Now, with the retention, it's a surprise and delight where you'd find out what makes them happy. So you would send them something that they would know about, and they usually will either say thank you, and even if they don't say thank you, you'll be at front of mind. So what sort of formula can people have? Let's say if they're spending 10K, what should they do to be able to, or strategize getting that ROI out of those different things?
If you're going to invest the money, I suggest you find out 3 pieces of information about the person. If you're a salesperson, we're having so many conversations. If we just come to the meeting, or to every conversation you can have a post-it note, and you say, okay, every single person I'm having a conversation, I'll find out X, Y, Z. And you do it, Steve, when people register for the Sales Authority Club meeting, you ask, and here's the revolutionary thought. How do you find out? How people ask me, how do I find out? You know my answer? And it's so simple, but this is the I always say revolutionary thought, because it's not. You ask them, like you do when they fill up the form, what is your favorite snack? You're not sitting there and assuming that you should be sending carrots to everyone. You ask people, and guess what? Michelle said carrots. Oksana said lean. Somebody else said pistachio nuts. And you create this connection, and you create meaningful emotion, but you ask them. So I suggest every time you have a conversation with your prospect, existing customers, you ask them, by the way, question. Oh, by the way, Steve, what team are you following? The finals coming, grand finals coming up. Oh, you're going to watch the final. Oh, you make a note. Steve, like that. Oh, Steve, by the way, what's your favorite color? Oh, Steve said blue. So every time you interact with someone, if you consciously make a decision, I need to collect 3 pieces of information, and I have questions of, 30 questions that you can ask. You can be very creative about it. But you then use this information that you ask, and it might be 3-6 months ago, suddenly I'm saying something to Steve, and I ask him, Steve, do you like, he mentioned, if you just listen for the clues, Steve mentioned he loves salt lamps. He said it 7-8 months ago. But when I created the next gift campaign, surprise and delight, I will use the knowledge that I collected 6 months ago, 8 months ago, right? What's your favorite flower? They say jacaranda. You can actually suddenly, and they told you about jacaranda back in April. In April, jacaranda was no flowers, but suddenly in December, we have October, November, we have so many jacarandas on the street. You can literally take a picture, send it to Steve with a note saying, Steve, I just thought of you. Imagine how much emotion and what sort of conversation. And it's like I always say, people know what we need to do. We don't need to have every single marketing about our services, right? We don't need to say, oh, we have new packages, we have this, we have that. You can find related services, Amanda, with your senior people in the club. You might think, oh, some band from 50s coming to town. And you might just send them SMS saying, oh, guys, did you know that Splendor Ballet in town in December? They will think of you automatically because you're the person who shared this knowledge with them or news, right? So somebody said, I'm a financial planner. How do I stay top of mind? I said, you don't need to always talk about finance, right? You don't need to always talk about sales if you have many other topics that you can create connections with the clients. It does not need to be so fine. Ask the questions, and this is where CRM is so powerful, because you can record the information, and suddenly it's quite actually interesting process, because how often you had people who've been your client for several years, and when I ask them, what do you really know about them? But when I say no, I'm not saying, oh, they live in northern beaches and they 100 plus salary and they have 1.25 kids. I'm not talking about this dry marketing data. I'm talking about, what do you know them? Do you know they like beach? Do they like volleyball? Do they go to yoga? Because this is what helps us to connect emotionally, right? And a lot of time we forget, we get so into, driving the business. But in reality is we are simple, and people buy from the people they like, they trust. So our main focus needs to be, how do we create that? Because if we create that, they will buy whatever we sell. Doesn't matter. You can sell finance, you can sell insurance, you can sell self-training, you can sell babysitting, fitness, cleaning. It's irrelevant, right? They will buy anything because they have a relationship. And a lot of time I say boring is profitable. A lot of people think, oh, it's boring. But you know what? Maybe nail file is boring, but you know what? It's profitable. And everything profitable is fun.
Yeah, well, I must say that one thing that we're saying here is it's instead of just trying to do a blanket marketing campaign, you can have offers and so forth. We're talking about something that's very different here. We're talking about, okay, there's a process we put together many years ago, and I think you tweaked it up for us as well, where we have a thing called a wow sheet. When someone gets involved with our businesses and so forth, we want to find out not their birthday, but what's another important day in their world. We certainly find out their favorite song, their biscuits, and all that sort of jazz. But I think what you're saying here is, if you're wanting to surprise and delight somebody, surprise and delight them, and the easiest way to find out is to ask the questions and then compile the information. And if we then go to do a marketing campaign to somebody, and I think there was something else you were speaking to some time ago, is that you then categorize if you're doing a reactivation or possibly an acquisition campaign. You'll say, well, how much is that person worth to the business? It could be worth, let's say, $1,000 a month. Could be 12 grand. Well, what would you spend to keep that $12,000 client to surprise and delight them? So this is part of an ROI component. Well, would you spend $50 to keep a $12,000 person happy, other than not just giving them great service? That's a given. Well, how could you surprise and delight them? Or what would it be to acquire a $12,000 person, where you just say, well, let's say over a year, it's just $1,000 a month. That might be small change, but if you did it for 10 people, that's $120,000. What would you spend? Would you spend a little bit of time to actually find out a little bit of stuff when you're doing your qualification? So on the telephone, or when you're meeting belly to belly and you've gone through with follow-up with someone that didn't buy, you might ask them those little random questions that's just inside your qualification. And for the people that buy your product, you then have a wow form where you can then surprise and delight them and say, for instance, would you spend $100 to keep a $12,000 client? And let's say they're only spending $100 a month. Let's say, well, that's $1,200 a year. What would you spend? Would you spend $100 for that person? I don't know, but it's a question you always ask me to ask our clients. And usually the number is quite high. So what you can then do is to say, well, what are some gifts we could actually categorize for an A grade, B grade, C grade client to be able to either go to acquisition or to retain them? So that would also give us an ROI. But I think what you're saying is, get the information and use it, not straight away, but when it's needed.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because, as you know, a lot of customers leave not because you give them a bad service, because we just don't show enough that we care, right? So people feel, you know what, I've been shopping in this shop for years. Yes, I come there, I buy stuff, I leave, but they never did anything to show the care. So I leave, not because something wrong with the service. So I'm saying, let's not wait until the customer leaves, because it's cost you, 5 to 7 times more to bring the new customer in. But how often all businesses only focus, how do we bring the people in? They spend marketing on Facebook advertising, on leads, on he download our free ebook, do that to generate the lead. But what's happened with the people who already spending money with you? How much, if all your customers leave you today, this is my question, how much would you spend to bring them back? So don't wait until they leave you, because to replace them, it's going to cost you 5 to 7 times more. So if you're saying, oh, I don't want to spend $50 on this customer, they're already a customer. Some people have this attitude, I don't need to worry about the customers, they're already the customer, we give them a good service. Nowadays not good enough. Somebody gonna give them same service with a little bit of glitter, they will be gone. And you go,
So can you give us, so how about you give us some examples of some of the glitter? I think that would be great ideas. Just some easy things to do. I'm not quite sure what if Christina could type in what type of business you're in, but I know that Amanda is in the health and fitness industry, and she has a 35 plus client base. So with Christina, what sort of business are you in?
Sorry, just answering. I'm in the fitness industry also.
Oh, terrific. Well, there you go. Well, you should actually connect with Amanda. She's a superstar. So you should maybe have a bit of a chin wag with her. So why don't you email each other? It's always great to share from, I find that people that share stuff from overseas really help the people that are connecting. So it's a great opportunity. So why don't you two actually say hello, or put your emails in the chat box and maybe say hello a little bit later on down the track. So Oksana, got fitness people here. Terrific. So, is there any idea, some actual tactics or something that you could maybe give the guys for maybe acquisition, or maybe some surprise and delight? Because on average, most clubs spend anywhere between, with the small end clubs, about 25, 30 bucks a week. So if we then do a multiple of that, it's about 100, 150, and some other clubs spend $200, $300, $400 a month. So what would you suggest on something that they could utilize?
Okay, well, it depends. They say what sort of glitter, right? Let's not assume that everyone firstly need a glitter, and secondly, everyone need a gold glitter, because somebody might need silver glitter, somebody need gold glitter, somebody need platinum glitter. So I always give example of, if we flying from Sydney to LA, and we have 200, 400, I don't know how many people on the plane. Not everyone get the same treatment, right? Economy people sitting there, they spend $2,000 or $1,000, whatever. I don't know how much the flights now, maybe 10,000 nowadays for economy. And they get in water. They can't sit there and demand champagne and blanket and sleeping in the bed because they only spend 2,000. Then you have business class people who spend double the price, then they get champagne, and then you have a first class people. So, and it's only you can determine. If you go through your clients, you can run your zero report, is this person that worth a cup of coffee every quarter, or is this person that I don't mind buying lunch, or this person I would love to take for dinner? You define what's the investment. So let's say you have senior people. You can go and again ask them. You might do collaboration with a dentist on a teeth whitening. And you say to them, oh, John, thanks for coming. By the way, We collaborated with the dentist across the road. They're giving $50 off for the teeth whitening, right? It's costing you nothing. Would you like that? Let's not assume. Or if it's maybe something personal, they will say, oh, you're giving me teeth whitening. They're saying that my teeth are yellow. Maybe we don't ask them. We just say, here's a special offer. You might just, collaborate with the coffee shop, and you have a happy Friday. Every time you come train on Friday, coffee in the coffee shop next door, it's on us, right? The coffee shop might give you coffee for $2 or for nothing. You might collaborate with the florist next door, and when you find out maybe some of your older female clients like flowers or plants, imagine they're working out on Friday evening and you give them a rose because you find out they like the flowers, or you give them little plant, right? So something that's not really costing you, but creating something. Imagine if they do it. Or you might have a massage offer that you bring for your seniors, or you might have a dietitian coming to give consultation. You might say, oh, you find out if any of your seniors have grandkids, and when the kids movie coming up, you might say, if you like, take your grandkids to the movies on us, and you give them to 2 movie tickets that cost you $30. But suddenly you open their doors to opportunity to them create amazing experience with the grandchildren, and guess what? And you were the source of it, right? And this is called the ripple effect and snowball effect of, wow, how powerful the investment is. And let's not assume that Christmas is the biggest day in everyone's life. Let's not assume it, right? Because some people hate Christmas. I had a campaign. I'm in the area where a lot of my clients are Jewish, right? So for me, sending them happy Christmas message, it's me declaring my stupidity, right? And I'm certainly not into stupid campaigns. So I created Jewish New Year gift for them, and Jewish people give honey and apples during the New Year, and New Year 3 months in advance. I think it changes every year about September, so 3 times before Christmas, because the message, we wish you a sweet upcoming year, so you eat honey with apple with honey. And I can tell you 20 years later, people still talk about this campaign. And how much it cost me? It cost me $20-30. I can say, this person, this is my 1 apple and a small honey person. This is the same gift. This is a 3 apple and a bigger honey. And this is my first time customer, first class customer. I give him a bucket of apples and a big jar of honey that lasts him for a year. But the gift is the same. But the thought that I knew they, religious background, and I created the gift, doesn't mean that I need to love apple and honey, nothing to do with me. So how do we can get the knowledge of who the customers are, give them what they want, what stir them emotions? So it's plenty for the seniors. You Google what seniors like, you ask them. They have, obviously, they not people in 30 and 40s who come to fitness clubs and they want to get fit and they have a busy lifestyle, they're driven, they want to make money. People who are senior maybe come to the gym a lot of time for the social part of it, right? So how do you help them? How you can be the gardener to facilitate the flowers in this garden, right? Because then it's always easy just to water rather than always planting, right? Planting requires a lot. You need to prepare the soil, you need to buy the seeds, you need to pray that these seeds will grow. But imagine when you already have the garden, how much easier. Just come occasionally and just give it a little bit of water, and fertilizer here and there, and the garden will flourish, right? So if we use this metaphor in our business, let's not get ourselves exhausted forever try to plant something new and find a new soil, and then we go, oh my god, this soil was too dry, or this soil it was impossible to reach, with the water, it's so hard to maintain. Let's look at our existing garden and find, how much water requires, and just do these small activities, and it will make, I believe it really will make our business flourish. With a too much, people focus on technology, on automation, on many things, but I personally know so many of these chats that on you go on online and you think, oh, hello Oksana, I'm here to help. 10 minutes later, you want to kill this who is asking you for help, because you ask them the question, because it's not human. If it was human, you will say, oh, does this available in red? And the human will say yes, or it doesn't. But because it's not human, it can't get your answers. Oh, can you please ask it in a different way? Or what other way? I'm just asking if it's available in different color. And this is create negative experience. So for me, it's say, if this chat not helping your customers to solve the problem, don't put it on your website, because it's just going to annoy you. They're not getting the information they ask you. So don't pretend you have this chatbot to help them.
So what I would suggest here to everybody out there, there was one campaign that we actually did for a club not long ago, is we had it was an anniversary component, but it wasn't after every year, because a lot of the clubs these days have a start when you like, stop when you want. And there's some statistics out there in the health and fitness industry. If they've got a 12-month membership, they'll sometimes, just continues thereafter. But in some states, there has to be a renewal. So what we did was we actually, when the person joined, or even in their qualification, we found out some of those, let's say, random questions, because it got a little bit of frivolity into the conversation. And then what we then did, we then had a little, let's say, a suggestion that we sent them something as a milestone. But the milestone wasn't say, oh, here's a personal training session. It was actually something they put in their wow sheet. That's what we called it. And we didn't do it every 6 months, and then we didn't do it on at 9 months and 12 months. We did it 4 months. We went into 7 months. Now, the reason we did that is because that's called an incomplete. This thing's popped up in the post, or it was usually arrived. It was just something very small, wasn't huge. And it arrived. And as they progressively went from 4 to 7 and then to 15 months, it got a little bit bigger, not significantly, but it was actually stuff that they wanted. And we found that really helped in retention, but also we also asked them is if they would like periodically when they joined a special mini membership for their family and friends. Now, many memberships are special. Those special ones are not 14 days or 7 days. There was something like 16 days or 9 days, a little bit random. So it didn't actually have a finite, which allowed them to be qualified. So we used to send those things out of those at that period of time was a 4, 7, and 15. And we used to get significant results because it was not reminding them of an expiry, but it was celebrating what they had done. And usually on the second one, on the 7th month, we gave them a mini membership where there was 4 different types. It was a toning, a weight loss, a strengthening, and a wellness mini membership, which would be to, and we always say the reason we give this to you. It's always more fun to train with a friend, and if they can join, you'll have a training partner. So feel free, but there's always an expiry on it. But we always sent them a gift. And also in referrals. Referrals is such a thing that the fitness industry bashed to death, and it's actually death by referral, to be quite frank. However, I am a big advocate of referral, but many years ago in Holmes Place over in London, I just did a lot of work over there. what we did was, someone said, if you would recommend a friend that would like to join, we have 10 gifts we like to say thank you to. Pick the ones you would like. So they have a big champagne, a lot of a chocolate, or even back in the old days, shows you how long ago it was a Walkman or a Discman. And they used to tick those boxes, and that is just received in the post if someone joined. That was it. And we found that those things were far more effective than actually just marketing.
Absolutely. And let's not assume that everyone need a, backpack with your logo as a referral gift, right? Or drink bottle with your logo as referral gift, right? Because it's not really a gift, it's your branding promotional item. And again, don't assume they need it, ask them, right? Because the last thing you want to do, spend $30 and then people just check it out because they're using Nike one, right? And I think it's a great point, Steve. When we do marketing, so I always talk about standard and extras, right? When you think about, if you're a coffee shop and you come to my coffee, if I'm a coffee shop and you come to my coffee shop and every time you buy the coffee, I give you the biscuit, right? I give you a cookie. So as a foundation, cookie is an extra, right? It's a free cookie with your coffee. So I need to communicate to you that this is extra. So you might have a random cookie day and you do it randomly once a month. Because if you start giving a cookie every day with the coffee, this extra becomes standard in the customer's eyes. And one day, if Steve comes and I do not give him a cookie with the coffee, guess what? Steve would be the angry customer. And as a business owner, I'm thinking, hold on, Steve, the cookie is an extra, but I made it into standard by giving it out, giving it all the time, right?
Yeah, I think this is a big point.
Yeah.
If people do it something that's...
Yeah, you come to the car dealership for the service, car mechanic. If he washes your car first time and not communicating an extra, that it's extra, guys, Steve, thank you. It's the first service with us. Delightful to see you. You know what? Car wash on us today. By the way, next time you're going to bring your car for service, if you like to have a car washed, we charge $39. So you communicate, you just confirm that Steve goes, wow, I just got $40 of value. And you also communicate, Steve, this is an extra. Do not expect, because if they don't communicate, next time he comes for service and they do the same service they did first time, he will be pissed off because they didn't wash the car.
Yeah.
So you said the habit. It's up to us to set the habit of expectations, right? If you come to the hairdresser, first time they give you shoulder massage in the coffee, you go, oh my God, I love it. Second time you go, shoulder massage, but no coffee. Third time you go, no shoulder massage, no coffee. And they say, we do the same haircut. No, this inconsistency create tension and create, oh, I'm disappointed. So you only gave me a coffee first time. Oh, okay. And massage, what? Just to hook me in. And now what?
So it's something that's a little bit as a surprise and delight. Now we're coming to the end of our time. Christina, I just got a message from Christina. She's from Holmes Place. How good is that? My goodness, that's a few years ago. And we're talking about Holmes and just magnificent business that we worked with over in England and also in Israel and so forth. It was actually, and also all around Europe. So she's part of that superb group. So what a blast from the past. That's terrific to see that, Christina. Look, before we go, Amanda, Christina, Darren, have you got any questions that you'd like to ask for some tidbits from Oksana before we wrap it up for the day? Have you got any? Come off mute or go on to the chat box and ask a question. It's a good opportunity to do that now.
Guys, and while you're doing that, I just have something that I've done over the years, and I find this is the best investment you can ever give. It's a subscription, right? So I have a girlfriend, like for many years, this is what I used to give to all my girlfriends. So think about subscription. If I know my girlfriend loves fashion, right? And I do subscribe to InStyle magazine, subscription for the year will cost you $70. $70, 70 divided by 12, it's cost you $5.80. But the beauty of that, it's $5.80 a month. Every month, this magazine arrive in the mail. Guess what? She remember of me. So imagine for your senior, you just randomly give them a list of 7 magazines, and you said, do you read any of the magazines? Yes or no? Then the next question, out of these 10, which one is your favorite? And you file it. And then their birthday come, and you say, dear Mr. Jones, here's the subscription to gardening magazine or cooking magazine for a year. Every month, the magazine arrive in the mail. They think of you for the cost of the cup of coffee. Personally, I'm still a big fan, and somebody might like motor racing. Somebody like perceived value is amazing. And the consistency that you're always top of mind, because subscription for the magazine, if you subscribe 12 months, it's never failed. They're going to send it in your behalf. You just actually delegated your marketing task, logistics, and remembering to someone else. Personally, this is one of my favorites by far.
I must say, James Short, as some of you guys would know, actually, for my birthday, purchased me some business summaries. And every month I get 10 business summaries pop in there, and Oksana is spot on. Every time it pops in there, I love the business summaries, but I remember James. So guys, have you got any questions for Oksana? Actually in the chat box, or come off mute and blast away, because we're going to wrap it up in a few moments.
Yeah, Oksana, I have a question. From an acquisition perspective, you use the example of the nail file. Do you then have a follow-up process from there, or do you just let the value of, the gift create the interest?
I do have a follow-up process. It's just a matter, because you never know where they're going to buy. So it's just a matter, I have 5 different buckets that I, put people in when I qualify them, right? So ready to buy, meaning that, they say to me, oh my God, thank God. Oh, I really need you. I have an event coming up in the next 4 weeks. So they're ready to buy category. Another one would be ready to buy, but not this 4 weeks. They might be say we have a conference in March. So I put a reminder in March. Somebody next category just generally interested. But this is why I'm saying that I create tools that even I don't generate immediate sale, I feel it's not going to send me broke, right? I don't mind giving them, I'm not giving them out, Mont Blanc pen. So, and I know this is my marketing activity, and I use these tools for referrals as well. So I go to Steve, and I know he's my great referral source. I said, Steve, here's my 20 nail filers. Anytime you meet someone who think would benefit from my service, please give them a nail filer, right? So I get Steve to actually do the work, and he's the one who's gonna pitch, because the moment he talked to Amanda, and Amanda saying whatever, he goes, oh, you should talk to Oksana. And by the way, he's a nail filer. But I'm also very aware that, they're not giant items that Steve cannot carry. They're very flat and very light. So he can slide it in his notebook, right? 3 of them, and always have it as a business card without any being, oh my God, she's asking me to give a referral and she's giving me bricks. Every time you meet someone, give them this brick that's 5 kilos and, bulky. So you can use it like as a soft, I definitely don't have expectation, or Darren, he's a nail file and calling for sale, right? It's a tool for me to stay top of mind. And I qualify, I don't give it to everyone because I don't even want to waste $2. Why would I? It's part of the sales process. Yeah. And sometimes people call me and say, my God, I lost the nail filer. Right? Can you send me another one? I said, sure. So, and this is the biggest compliment that I know this is the right tool. And I always created the new tools. With COVID, there was a sanitizer, was a tape measure. Now I'm creating colorful books. Now, I'm doing 2021 campaign when the message would be, what pandemic? Let's talk about brandemic, right? How do we can just sort of play with words and give people new opportunity to sort of refocus on the brand and engagement, right? Turn pandemic into brandemic, and his few tips. Does
right.
this, Darren? Does the help to answer? Perfect.
Terrific. So Amanda and Christina, if you've got anything, if you've got a question or two, let's hear them. Otherwise, we will wrap up our time together. All good. Terrific. Well, Oksana, thanks so much for sharing with us. And I just wanted to finish off with a small little thing that you helped me with just before. Some time ago, we did some investments and upgraded some of our things we gave away. And as we've said on a number of times, we have a nice, a different colored pen. Christina, you got to give me your address, and I'm going to send you a couple of our little things. All right, you're going to do that for me. Put it in the chat box, and I'll send it to you. Home's Place might make me tingle all over. So please, you've got one too. There's Amanda. Good on you, girl. So please put your send me your email address, or write my email address, impacttraining@bigpond.com, and I'll post you something off today. Okay. But a little while ago, we had someone that was joined the Sales Authority Club. Was a past client, and his wife was very pregnant at the time. Had a number of businesses, and he didn't understand how busy he'd have to be with his wife coming out of the business and so forth. But he got our starter pack, and he became a member, and we had to sort of put that on suspension and go and be a dad. The other day he was speaking to me, and he said he was going to meet up with a client, a person that works for his business, that he thought that we needed to help them. He went over there and he took his trusty impact pen, and he was talking about some stuff, and all of a sudden, looking at the pen, it reminded him to talk about what we did. And because we had the actual website on there, he said, you've got to look at these guys. The guy took his name down, took my name down, and he wrote it, and the pen prompted him to actually tell him to speak to us, because he told me he was going to do it, but he said he'd forgotten, and he said the pen actually did it. He was actually had just a bit of a chuckle about it. He says, good marketing ploy. Well, I got a phone call and an email from that gentleman. His name was Scott. We actually are moving forward with something which will be a very large account, so quite significant. So that was for a pen that we upgraded because of you, and you said, do not put your logo on it, just put your website address, and that certainly has worked. So ROI, well, that would be thousands and %s of ROI. So I just wanted to wrap that up because it was a great change, and we will do that. And Christina, I will send you a little thing of all that sort of stuff, and I will make sure that you send me that email, impacttraining@bigpond.com, and I'll zip it off to you. Amanda, keep me well abreast on how you're going with your implementation from the quarterly. And if we've got no more questions, Oksana, as usual, getting us thinking outside the box, always getting us to do things a little bit differently. So thank you so much for your time. Outstanding.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
All right, guys, it's about what you do. It's not about what you learn. Doing is about everything. Just take one or two things that Oksana was talking about today, put it into practice. All right, gang. Well, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week at 10 o'clock, and we'll have some more golden nuggets for marketing. All right, gang. Bye for now.